This is Universal Studios. You're in Hollywood now.
Okay, folks, we got the all clear. We are heading out. Wave goodbye to everybody standing in line. It's only polite after all, as we set out onto the Universal Studio lot. Now, like I said before, my name is Trevor. I'm going to be your guide this afternoon as we explore the Universal Studio lot, and our driver today is Kimmy. Now, before we really kick things off, I do have to go over a couple of safety procedures for your safety and comfort on board the train. So, first off, if you need guest assistance or have a medical emergency, or if you drop something of value off the side of the tram, or have any sound or video issues, reach up and grab the red E-cord that runs along the center of the ceiling of the tram, and I'll be back to assist you as soon as it's safe to do so. Otherwise, during the entire tour, please stay seated and keep your arms laced inside the vehicle at all times. Remember to use that red cord above your head if you need any assistance. The studio is private property, and if at any time during the tour you drop your phone or just can't wait to use the restroom, pull the cord in, please remain seated. Also, please no smoking of any kind during the tour. And be prepared, our tour today features loud noises, some tram movements, fire effects, and many water effects. You'll want to have your cameras out for great photo opportunities, but just keep an eye on them so they don't get wet. And finally, for your safety and those around you, please do not use selfie sticks while you are on board the tram. Alright folks, with all that out of the way, let's kick off our 60th anniversary studio tour with our master of ceremonies. You may know him from The Tonight Show. Here he is, Jimmy Fallon.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Fallon. Welcome aboard the world-famous studio tour. I know you're thinking, why the tonight? Well, we're celebrating our 60th anniversary. That's right, 60 years of glitz, glamour, and our own great white shark. As we celebrate our diamond anniversary today, pay tribute to Universal's past, take you behind the scenes to discover why this studio tour is world famous. So whether this is your first visit or your 60th, get ready for fun, excitement, and an experience like no other.
Thank you, Jimmy. Now to give you a little bit of history about the studio tour, on March 15, 1915, our founder Carl Laemmle invited the public into the studio to watch silent movies being made. Guests could walk from set to set and marvel at the new technology involved in filmmaking. But with the invention of sound and the need for quiet on the set, the original walking tour ended. In the 1960s, under the leadership of company chairman Lou Wasserman and executives Al Dorskin and Jay Stein, the idea of providing a tour of the studio returned, and the Great Line bus tours originating in Hollywood made a stop at our gates. On July 15th of 1964, the first of our red and white candy-striped Glamour Trams took 67 passengers on a 2-hour drive tour of the Universal lot, and the world-famous studio tour was born. We started with 2 drivers, 2 guides, and 1 ticket seller per camp trailer on Lancashire Boulevard. From there, the studio tour expanded with fantastic one-of-a-kind Hollywood elements, including the burning house and the rock slide, which really started the lot back in the 1970s and 80s. Today, by the way, you're on board one of our 60th anniversary Glamour Trams. It's one of our super trams, but dressed up in throwback style. This red-white candy stripe was created by Herbert Goff, a well-known Hollywood art director and set designer who worked on movies like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory for Paramount, and was known for his fantastical designs. Now in 1983, we upgraded to super trams, allowing us to carry more guests and experience more thrills. In 2000, we added onboard video, turning the tram into a movie theater on wheels. In the past 5 years, we've gone electric with our tour vehicles, so our trams have really come a long way. Now, folks, for the first part of our tour, we're about to enter the front lot, which contains all aspects of film production. With multiple stages of the production process as well. There's the pre-production phase where we select what script we're going to film, who we're going to cast in it, what it's going to look like overall. Then filming commences. The best way to describe it is a phrase you've probably heard before: lights, camera, action! And then the post-production phase is when they stitch all those scenes together, maybe add in a musical score, some digital effects as well, then release them on the big or small screen. Now here we are, folks. We've just entered the front lot now. Currently, we're in between the movie studio and the theme park. To the right-hand side of the tram is Super Nintendo World, home to Mario and Luigi, the stars of our biggest film of 2023, the Super Mario Brothers movie. Now, it's also in this area of the lot where studio tour guests once had a chance to explore facets of Hollywood not accessible to the public before 1964, including taking a tour of 8-time Academy Award-winning costume designer Edith Head's offices, as well as our preview center, which, among other things, housed an early iteration of our special effects show with Robert Wagner as a video co-host. Now, in just a moment, coming up on the left-hand side of the tram, you're going to see one of our sound stages, soundstage number 14. Now, our sound stages, by the way, have been used for recent productions, including Universal's 11th Best Picture Oscar-winning film Oppenheimer, as well as the 3rd season of the television show Bel Air, which airs on Peacock. Now, here to tell you a little bit more as we venture further out into the front lot are our next 6 of the anniversary guests, the stars of Bel Air, Jabari Banks and Ollie Charlatan.
Leaving the theme park behind and entering the front lot. Real Hollywood magic is there. Out or inside the sound stages that surrounds us, we can feel any kind of environment this really is.
For the past 60 years, some of your tour visitors have been right by these buildings, and inside these walls, the sets from your favorite TV shows and movies have transported audiences anywhere the imagination can take you. Even to a palatial mansion in Bel Air.
When we film Bel Air, we love coming out of the sound stages and seeing the trams filled with excited guests as they drive by.
So, keep an eye out.
You never know.
For what?
We'll see you in the studio.
Thanks, Jabari and Ollie. Now, NBC Universal's television history goes back over 80 years, with the opening day ceremonies of the 1939 New York World's Fair marking our first broadcast. Since then, we've produced and televised the most popular and longest-running shows ever seen on network television. Shows like The Jeffersons, Columbo, Coach, all filmed right here on the Universal lot. More recently, coming up on the right-hand side of the tram, we have 2 of our sound stages number 18 and 19. They were home to the television show The Good Place for 4 years. That show starred Kristen Bell, William Jackson Harper, as well as Ted Danson. More recently, Stage 19 was home to a brand new television show called A Classic Spy, created by Michael Schur, who also created Parks and Recreation, and also stars Ted Danson. Now, speaking of another Ted, to the left-hand side of the tram, you may have recognized a certain teddy bear celebrating our 60th anniversary, along with an ice-cold beer in his hand. That is Ted from the films Ted and Ted 2, and also the TV series, aptly named Ted, which was released on Peacock on January 11th, 2024, and was produced, directed, and starred Seth MacFarlane. Now, also to the left-hand side of the tram, we're currently passing our production bungalows. Here to tell you about this area of the studio lot is our next 60th anniversary guest, the CEO of Illumination, Chris Meledandri.
In the early days of the studio, these bungalows were used as dressing rooms to the stars of Hollywood's golden age. Now, they're used as offices where some of Hollywood's top directors, writers, and producers work their magic to get a production ready, including my company, Illumination. At Illumination, we've made some of the most successful animated films in box office history, including Despicable Me, Whorehouse, Secret Life of Pets, Minions, Sing, The Grinch, and the Super Mario Brothers movie. And the team is hard at work again as we launch our next film, Despicable Me 4.
We've had some really good sequences in Despicable Me movies. The heist of the money manager is now officially my favorite. What it comes down to is the emotional through line, and I believe
Now at this point, folks, we're leaving the front lot behind and about to head to our back lot. Here to tell you more, once again, is Jimmy Fallon.
We're about to cross the imaginary boundary onto the back lot, where we have exterior set for many outdoor scenes. Over the last 60 years, studio tour guests have seen these locations turned into big cities, quiet suburbs, even that guy's hometown. Yeah, that guy. For countless movies and TV shows. This is Universal's Metro sets.
Thank you again, Jimmy. Yes, we're now headed to our metropolitan sets, folks. Now, coming up on the right-hand side of the tram, in just a moment, you're going to see our Brownstone Street. We're currently prepping for a brand new television show called St. Dennis Medical, starring David Allen Greer, coming to NBC this fall. You're essentially getting a little bit of a sneak peek. Very excited. Now, in addition, we're also driving down the road that Marty McFly used to get Back to the Future. In just a moment, we're about to visit our Courthouse Square, also known as Hill Valley. Here to tell you more is star Leah Thompson, one of the producers, writers, and creators of Back to the Future, Bob Gale.
Welcome to the Courthouse Square. These sets were used to create Hill Valley and the Back to the Future films.
And they represented multiple time periods: 1985, 1955, and the far, far distant future, 2015. To this day, this is one of the most popular sets on the Universal Studio Tour.
We had a lot of fun making those films here on the lot. I wonder what it'd be like to go back to those days. If only we had a time machine.
Hey everybody, do you think we can get this tram up to 88 miles per hour? See you in the future.
Here we go, folks. We're headed to Hill Valley and our Courthouse Square. Now, coming up on the left-hand side of the tram in just a moment, you're going to see Doc Brown with his famous time machine. Wave hello to Doc Brown, everyone. Hello.
Everybody, you made it to Hill Valley. If my calculations are correct, today is June 23rd, 2024. Because I'm traveling from 1985, as you can see. Figure if you're going to turn a car into a time machine, you might as well do it with some style, right? And if you're a true fan, you can see the clock tower is still stuck at 10:04 p.m. from November 12th, 1955, where right down that road, I sent Marty McFly back to the future. So let's do another time there with you.
Sounds great. See you in the future, Doc. Thank you so much. Now, folks, here we go. We're headed all the way from the West Coast to the East Coast, specifically to our New York Street. Now, our New York Street has been used for productions including Transformers, directed by Michael Bay, as well as Captain America: The First Avenger. We see Chris Evans running down 1940 Sierra Chase Scam with hydration. That was right here in our metropolitan sets. Now, in addition, this is also one of our more recent Backlot sets. It was rebuilt and redesigned in 2008. Before the set was here, this was home to a classic studio tour attraction. Here to tell you more is the star of Kung Fu Panda 4, the Super Mario Brothers movie, as well as the 2005 version of King Kong, Jack Black.
And so back, did you know the Metro sets were once the home to Hollywood's biggest star? Right here is where the original studio tour King Kong attraction resided from 1986 until 2008. He stood 30 feet tall and weighed in at 13,000 pounds. Over the years, millions of guests got to meet King Kong face to face as he shook the tram. So close you could feel his hot banana breath. Is that it? I believe that's my last line, and then the tram moves on to the next thing.
In just a moment, Jack Black. Yes, in just a moment. Now, in addition, we do use these sets for more than just scripted films and television shows. This is also where we build the obstacle course for American Ninja Warrior, which airs on NBC and next day on Peacock. Specifically, we build the obstacle course for the qualifiers and the semifinals here on the Universal Lot. Now, when they film those, by the way, they usually film those back to back. over the course of a single evening. It can get to be fairly late too, up to as late as around 4 in the morning. So next time you're watching American Ninja Warrior, if contestants look exhausted, it's likely because they are. It is extremely late. Of course, at the same time, they do will become the next American Ninja Warrior. Now though, folks, we've left the concrete jungles behind, and in just a moment, we're about to visit the jungles of Skull Island, where King Kong resides. Now before we do that though, coming up on the right-hand side of the tram, I want to draw your attention to 2 more classic studio tour attractions. To the right-hand side of the tram right now, you're seeing the collapsing bridge and the Runaway train. Now the collapsing bridge was a mechanical effect that the trams used to cross. By hydraulic support beams would split, and the bridge would seem to collapse. In addition, a Runaway train was originally located in our western sense and used to hurtle toward the tram and come to a screeching halt. Both are retired effects made for the studio tour 50 years ago. Now, as we're about to take a trip to Skull Island, a quick reminder this time, folks, remember once again to please remain seated at all times. Keep your arms, feet, legs inside the vehicle. In addition, if you are carrying any belongings with you, hold on to them tight. As visiting Skull Island, well, sometimes can be a little bit of a bumpy ride. And that was King Kong 360 3D. Take off your 3D glasses, do hold on to them since you will need the flavor. That was projected on some of the largest 3D screens in the world that are 40 feet tall and over 180 feet wide. And it was done thanks to Peter Jackson and the folks over at FX. FX has won 7 Academy Awards and worked on such productions like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, The Television of The Last of Us, Lord of the Rings trilogy, and Avatar: The Way of Water. We always know shop we're working on. Here you have to take it out, people looking in other directions. Also, one of the things about this, a lot of the movies that we're used to working on, there's no cuts because it's one giant shot. This triangle is driving around through Skull Island is where the camera's from. Now, folks, at this point we're visiting a little bit more of our metropolitan sets. Now, this area is our London Square. London Square was used for both Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well as Agent Carter, which aired on ABC. In addition, it was also used for Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw. Now, that film did film on location, in London, in addition to what they filmed here on the Universal lot. The reason why you do not notice that comes down to the post-production process, where we stitch all of the scenes together to put on the big screen. Well, that's where we've inserted the shots right here on the Universal lot. Now, to the left-hand side of the tram, by the way, you're seeing a parking lot. I do admit that. However, note that that's where a base camp, an area of operations, will be located. Such things that are included in the base camp includes a video village, an area where the director, the actors as well, can watch dailies. Pretty much everything they filmed over the course of the entire day might inform how they tackle the performance from there on out. There'll also be trailers for the stars, a holding area for the background actors, plus the crafty, the free food. If you want some of the best food in your life, folks, join the entertainment stream. Now, also to the left-hand side of the tram, you're going to see two more soundstages number 30 and 31. Now, they stand out a little bit. You might be able to guess what they're for. Yes, stages 30 and 31 are where we filmed The Voice, where they're currently prepping for season 26 right now. Now, the show itself will come out this fall, but they're already prepping for it. It's very exciting this as well. This season we have Snoop Dogg, we have Reba McEntire, Gwen Stefani, and Michael Bublé, all joining as coaches. Yeah, it's going to be a phenomenal time. Again, it airs on NBC and next day on Peacock. Now though, folks, we're headed further into the backlot portion of our tour. And to the left-hand side of the tram, you're going to see a body of water that we refer to as the Hollywood Ocean. Now, it was here in 1973 where we added the Parting the Red Sea to the studio tour. Inspired by the classic film, The Ten Commandments, which was a Paramount picture, the star of the movie, Charlton Heston, made an appearance to part the waters for our guests. The Glamour Tram seemed to drive right through the lake and give everyone on board a sea-level view. There have also been exploding water mines, torpedoes, and prop submarines, part of the action.
The tram is overloaded. Tell them they don't want enough water. It's part of the tour.
Now, while we're celebrating our 60th anniversary here at the studio tour, there is a film that used the Hollywood Ocean that is celebrating a bigger milestone, celebrating its 70th anniversary this year. And that would be, yes, the creature from the Black Lagoon, 70 years old this year. Now, we here at Universal, we love our monsters that make up a huge part of our history, dating back from the 1920s all the way to next year when we opened Dark Universe at Universal at the University of Orlando, Florida. I don't know if anyone saw any of the concept art that they released the other day, by the way. It looks amazing. I cannot wait. Now, though, folks, we've entered our Little Europe set, which has been home to many of those Universal monsters over the years, such as Boris Karloff's Frankenstein, Bela Lugosi's Dracula. Now, in addition, this is also Port Royale from Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. We see Captain Jack Sparrow, played by Johnny Depp, escaping from the authorities. He ducks behind a statue and then faintly enters Will Turner's blacksmith shop, played by Orlando Bloom. That was here in Little Europe as well. And in addition, for my television comedy fans on board, welcome to The Good Place.
The second location, the afterlife. I've never ever seen this. You're in the good place.
I'm not supposed to be here. Can't risk going to the bad place.
Maybe it's not all that bad.
How can I help you?
What is the bad place like?
Well, it doesn't sound awesome.
Now, Little Europe is one of our older backlot sets that we have here on the Universal lot. In fact, it was used for a film that, not too long ago, last September to be specific, celebrated its 100th anniversary. That film is The Hunchback of Notre Dame and starred Lon Chaney. Now, For those who don't know Lon Chaney, he was a phenomenal actor, known for doing his own makeup and creating these very creepy, almost grotesque characters. He was so good at it, in fact, he was often referred to as the man with 1,000 faces. There was another film that he did in the Phantom of the Opera and said that they had to have workers on standby with smelling salts because patrons watching the movie would often faint in horror when they saw Lon Chaney remove his mask. Now, Lon Chaney was also very protective about his makeup secrets. He did not tell anyone how to do them, not even his own son, Lon Chaney Jr. But don't worry, Lon Chaney Jr. went on to have a phenomenal career as well, portraying the Wolfman for Universal Pictures, among many other things. Now, here's just a little bit more about those Universal monsters.
Universal think of monsters: Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Bride of Frankenstein, The Mummy, Hunchback of Notre Dame,
The Invisible Man,
and the opera. Classic. So just brilliant.
That Frankenstein image, it's one of the great icons of the world.
That to me was like the essence of the Universal horror film. I was just mesmerized by it. Boris Karloff, Lon Chaney. I remember the original Universal Studios Mummy movie, really scary. They're still ringing on memories now.
Now, lingering on that shot right there, that is Bela Lugosi portraying Dracula. The film Dracula released on Valentine's Day in 1931. Now, they actually filmed two versions of the movie simultaneously. There was an English-speaking version as well as a Spanish-speaking version. They used the same props, the same sets, everything. Really, one of the few differences is that the Spanish-speaking version had to film during the nighttime, whereas the English version is filmed during the daytime. And film historians consider the Spanish version to be just as good, if not actually superior to the English-speaking version. Now, here actually we have some similarities and differences that you can take a look at between those two movies.
I never drink. Why? Yo nunca bebo.
Now, we do have a wide variety of television productions that use the Universal lot for filming. Of course, I've already talked about some of them already. Now, one thing that I haven't talked about, though, we do have a multi-cam sitcom that films here on the Universal lot called Lopez vs. Lopez, starring George Lopez and his real-life daughter, Lyon Lopez. Now, when you think of a multi-cam sitcom, you might think of similar shows like The Big Bang Theory, Friends, Will and Grace, those types of shows. Sitcoms generally, they take about 5 days to put together one episode of the show. For the first 4 days, the actors are mostly getting up on its feet like it's a play. They're memorizing their lines, getting their blocking down. Blocking, if you're wondering what that is, by the way, it's essentially movement around the set. They're memorizing that so the camera operators can more easily follow the ground. Because on the fifth and final day, we bring in a live studio audience to watch a taping of the show. The laughter that you're hearing when you're watching a sitcom, that is real, authentic laughter. They hang microphones above the entire audience. Now, I will say, of course, sometimes a joke doesn't work. The audience might not get it, might not find it funny. Hey, it happens. Now, when that happens, though, believe it or not, the writers, they are still working on the show. They're going to quickly spring into action, trying to come up with new material, new jokes. Once they find something like, they'll tell the actor, hey, try saying this instead. And if the audience laughs, that's going to be the joke. That's the final episode of the show. And that's just a small taste of how we make sitcom. If you ever want to attend a taping of sitcom, by the way, you can go to oneiota.com as well as oncameraaudiences.com. Tickets are completely free. So hey, why not check out a taping of one of your favorite sitcoms? Now, as a quick reminder this time, folks, remember once again to please remain seated at all times. Keep your arms, feet, and legs inside the vehicle. So we have a very lucky opportunity today, folks. We're visiting one of our sound stages, soundstage number 50. Now, you've heard that last year we closed the attraction that was formerly here called Earthquake, the big one. We have made way for a new, unrivaled, state-of-the-art soundstage where they're working on a brand new single-cam show. However, it's the weekend. No one's working today. That's why we have the chance to drive on through, take a look at what the interior of a soundstage looks like. One of the first things to note about this set is what we call a hot set. What that means is everything is camera ready. If this was a weekday, it would be filming right about now. And one very cool thing anniversary. Disaster classic Earthquake, movie Earthquake, is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. It was released on November 15th of 1974, and it starred Charlton Heston, Andrew Roundtree, and Ava Gardner. Now, at this time, folks, we are approximately halfway through our tour. A quick reminder, remember to please stay seated during the entire tour. The studio is private property. If you drop your phone or just can't wait to use the restroom, pull the red cord to get my attention, and I will be back to assist you. But please do remain seated on the tram at all times. Now, you know what, folks? It's pretty important today, don't you think? I know it might help us, though. A trip to the beach! And what better beach to visit than Amity Island, where every day's like the 4th of July. Now, you might have heard recently there was a shark problem. I'm assured, though, by Mayor Vaughn himself. In fact, coming up on the right-hand side of the tram, you can see it. They've caught the shark! Security right now is doing final preparations before they reopen the beach to the public. We might have the chance to head on out there, dip our toes in the water, really kick back, relax. Oh, I have a friend George, by the way, phenomenal guy. He was a... Uh-oh. Oh, no, folks, there's a shark in the water. There is a shark in the water. Boy, I sure hope George isn't in there right now. Oh, no, that's George. George, quick, get out of there, there's a shark! Oh, no. Poor George, what a gutsy guy being in there. Oh, no, I see his guts, too. Good idea, Jimmy. Yeah, let's put the tram forward behind this pier. Where's that? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Where's that barrel full of bait? Hopefully distract the shark. Oh, it's taking the bait! And we'll hold off with it. I think we're going to need a bigger tram. Look out, there's the shark! Of the mechanical shark over there, starting with one that we affectionately refer to as carrot tooth because of its oversized teeth. Our shark today is named Bruce. He's named after the original mechanical shark from the film Jaws, who's in turn named Bruce after Steven Spielberg's attorney. Now, folks, we're about to head to another classic studio tour attraction. Here to tell you more is today's show co-host and weather anchor, Al Roker.
My favorite part of the tour. When it comes to film, TV is truly a special event that will demonstrate how much only part of the Backlot with a 100% chance of rain. The flash flood.
Perfect timing. Thank you so much, Mr. Roker. Now, to create the effect of rain, there's honestly no fancy technology involved. It's just coming out of sprinklers, and gravity does most of the heavy lifting. Or heavy falling, I should say. Now, one thing to note about the rain, you may notice right now, in fact, as you're trying to take photos, video, rain, it is extremely difficult to capture on camera. Normally what we would do here is we would place backlighting all over the place just to make it pop just a little bit more. Fortunately, with the sunlight out right now, that's doing quite that big work over here now, folks. For the studio tour, it has been used for filming as well. Sections include the music video for Lady Gaga's Judas, as well as the film The Big Fat Liar, starring Frank Muniz, Amanda Bynes, and recent Oscar nominee Holdovers, Paul Giamatti. phenomenal film. Now, anyway, folks, we're leaving our old Mexico set behind and we're heading into the Wild West. Specifically, welcome to 6 Points. The reason why we call this area 6 Points is back during the silent era of filmmaking. This street had 6 different roads connected to it. And every road, much like this one, had its own bank, its own saloon, its own jail, all of the film locations you would honestly need to make a Western. So they were actually able to film 6 different movies here simultaneously because it was a silent era. Of course, at the time, they didn't have to worry about sound bleeding over to other productions. And in addition, this is one of our older Backlot sets as well, so the set wasn't around during the original walking tour that started in 1915. So guests, they would freely roam these streets, cheer on the good guys, boo the bad guys as they watched the movies being made, all for 25 cents. Came with a lovely chicken lunch as well. Sounds amazing. Now, more recently, you've also seen Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That film starred Leonardo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie, and Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt, in fact, won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his work in that role. Well, this is where Leonardo DiCaprio playing Rick Dalton was dropped off to set, very upset with the way his career is going. Fortunately, though, he did have a young Julia Butters come for him. After all, he didn't have that one phenomenal take with actor Timothy Olyphant. Now, coming up on the right-hand side of the tram, you're going to see a little bit more of our Western town. Like I said, 6 Points used to be much larger than it is today. Now, to the right-hand side of the tram, what you're seeing is our Denver Street. Denver Street was also 1800s Australia for the film Saving Mr. Banks. Those sequences starred Colin Farrell in the lead role. The film was released by Disney. Now, when doing a period piece like Saving Mr. Banks, as well as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, production designers play a critical role. They do a ton of research beforehand to make sure every detail from the costuming, the signage, the lighting is all accurate, really to immerse you in that world, take you back to that time period. You may notice, by the way, we're doing a little bit of backtracking. Very briefly, we're going to drive by Amity Island from Steven Spielberg's Jaws once again. Now, I will say, Steven Spielberg played a very important role in bringing Jaws to the studio tour. In fact, here's the man himself talking just a little bit about that experience.
The Jaws ride was almost the inevitable result of the size of the box office that Jaws was opening in 1975. And that was really the first time I ever got involved in the creation of the ride. It was a great honor to be invited into a great circle of tremendous designers at Universal that were trying to figure out how to replicate what the movie had done to audiences in a little way by building a physical shark that would come out of the water and terrify tourists as they were sitting in the crowd. And the most amazing thing about the Jaws ride is it is exactly as it was from the time it was first placed on Universal Lot. There have been tweaks, of course, over the years, but it is essentially what the designers and myself all envisioned and created.
Now, coming up on the left-hand side of the tram, you're going to see our Colonial Street, also known as Wisteria Lane for ABC's Desperate Housewives. In addition, for those who may have watched the Super Bowl back in February, it was used for Beyonce's Verizon commercial where she repeatedly kept on trying to break the internet. But from Colonial Street to Lyon Estates, to the left-hand side of the tram, you might recognize the Lyon Estates signs from the Back to the Future trilogy. That is where Marty McFly lived. Now, those signs are replicas that were specifically built celebrating the 30th anniversary of the first film. It's very appropriate those signs are located there, though. We're currently driving on Steven Spielberg Drive, who is executive producer of the Back to the Future trilogy. We have a long, storied relationship with the Academy Award-winning director. In addition to Jaws, we've had the chance to work with him on such things like E.T., Schindler's List, among many other things. And I'll let the man speak for himself just a little bit more about why he calls Universal home.
My entire career began with my relationship with Universal Studios just as a high school kid on a tour bus. Remember, in those days, there weren't trams, there were buses called the Gray Line Tour Bus. And I was so excited and thrilled to be on the lot. It was my first time ever on a movie studio lot. And during a bathroom break, I hid in the bathroom. And when everybody left to get back on the bus, I waited another 15 minutes until I'm sure the bus left. And then I had the entire lot to myself that night. And in those days, movie lots were so crowded because all movies were made on film lots. Say they're made all over the world, on locations, but Motel was focused in those days, in the 60s, on the film blocks. So nobody noticed me when I was going around from soundstage to soundstage, and I really felt, in my own young way, I owned the lot and had the most amazing day of my life.
Now, folks, we're about to visit one of the large-scale sets that Mr. Spielberg used for his 2005 film War of the Worlds, which starred Tom Cruise and Dakota Fanning. Coming up on the right-hand side of the tram, you are going to see a real 747. It was decommissioned before it was used for filming. It cost about $60,000. Now, the plane was also extremely difficult to be transported down here to be used. They actually had to reseat the plane just to make sure it could fit under an overpass that it went through. Once it did finally arrive down here, they were supposed to reinstall the ceiling, but director Steven Spielberg liked looking at it so much, he essentially said, "No, it's perfect, keep it as is." Now we here at the studio tour, by the way, we love getting guests up close to large-scale sets like this one right here. Before the War of the Worlds, this is where Site B for the Lost World of Jurassic Park was located, as well as part of Whoville from The Grinch Stole Christmas. Now, in addition, this set, specifically the home's left-hand side of the tram, were used for personally one of my favorite talk shows, the talk show Community, created by Dan Harmon. During a season 2 episode, the Clip Show episode, this is where the Greendale 7 tried to build a habitat for humanity. Of course, something went horribly wrong, and they were scolded by Dean Pelton. Now, coming up on the right-hand side of the tram is a home that has been an iconic part of the studio tour since its creation in 1964. This home to the right-hand side of the tram is Norman Bates' house from Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. And you might see Mother rocking your chair back and forth in one of the 7-story windows. In addition, coming up in front of the tram is our official scale replica of one of LA's most iconic landmarks, the Hollywood sign. While we're celebrating our 60th anniversary, the Hollywood sign is commemorating its centennial year. Our version is a scale model that sets at 10 feet tall, while the original letters stand at a full 45 feet tall. Now, for the first few decades of the studio tour, one of our hallmarks was a visit to Croc Plaza, where guests disembarked for once-in-a-lifetime photos and to interact with characters, vehicles, and props from their favorite productions. Folks, this is a limited stop. When you are ready to continue your tour, simply follow the signs. However, you will be boarding a different tram with a brand new studio guide, so be sure to gather all your first belongings and your 3D glasses. We'll get them when you resume the tour.
Who's given us amazing films like Get Out, Us, and his latest film, Nope, which is sort of an exploration into what a UFO attack might be like.
What's up, Studio Tour? I'm Kiki Palmer from Jordan Peele's film, Nope. What's a bad miracle? Well, you'll have to see our movie to answer that one. Until then, I hope you enjoy your visit to Jupiter's Claim.
Did you see a UFO in that cloud?
Yep. No.
I ain't never seen nothing like this.
Are you ready?
Oh, yeah. Nope.
Hell no.
Movie magic only happens when a team of collaborators, often in the hundreds, work together to take an impossible notion and bring it to life. This is Jupiter's Claim, a nostalgic, small-time Southern California amusement park owned by former child star Ricky Jupe Park. Over there, look into the winking well and have your picture taken just like the kids in that old 90s movie Kid Sheriff. That's what this whole place is loosely based on. Remember that one? No? Well, I do. A little further down, you can see the brand new Star Lasso experience. Built to showcase an unbelievable new live show. Well, it's not looking so live anymore. Anyway, behind this Hollywood fantasy of a gold rush frontier town lies a sinister secret. It is smack dab in the center. Welcome to the world of no.
Sometimes what makes a film so scary is what you can't see. If you have any questions, I really think you should check out Nope. But right now we are making our way to a part of the studio where we once had an attraction called the Doomed Glacier Expedition, better known as the Ice Tunnel, featured in an episode of The $6 Million Man starring Lee Majors with Andre the Giant as Bigfoot. The tram will climb to an imaginary elevation of 12,000 feet. The only way back to the theme park was through the ice tunnel, where the slightest sound could trigger an avalanche, and it always did, causing the balls to spin and the guests to tilt along with the Hollywood special effect.